All right, so today we're going to talk about what are options. We're not going to get in too much detail, but I just want to help you understand what an option is. So, an option is a security attached to a stock market index or attached to a stock itself. That's where we're going to start. Okay, so you have the S&P 500. The S&P 500 trades. You might use an ETF, you might use futures. If you don't know what futures are, don't worry. The most people and most retail traders, novice traders, intermediate traders, and some very advanced traders simply use ETFs. The symbol is SPY. So if you're buying SPY, you should correlate directly to the S&P 500 minus your cost, so the cost of owning that particular ETF. Okay, so as the market goes up, your money goes up. As the market comes down, your money comes down. Now, what is an option? An option is something that you buy elsewhere. Now, why would you do that? Well, there's a couple reasons people buy options. For one, you can preserve your tax base over in the ETF. So if you own the S&P 500 at $100 and then it grows to $1,000, if you were to sell it because you saw a bad market coming, guess what? You're going to pay capital gains tax on $900. And if that move happened very quickly, you went from $100 to $1,000, you're going to pay your income tax rate and taxes. So if you're making decent money, that can be a substantial portion. If you sell that and it's longer than 12 months, which makes it a long-term capital gain, you're still going to pay between 15 and 20% in long-term capital gains. So if you buy an option, all right, in this case, you think the market's going to fall and you want to protect your gains. You want to protect that $900 gain. You're going to buy a put option. As that stock market falls, your put option goes up in value. So you get to make money as the S&P 500 falls. Now, you avoided a taxable event. You don't have to pay taxes on your gains because you bought this option. And guess what else? An option is inexpensive. It costs nowhere near what it costs to buy an option and have the same kind of price effect as it does to buy an ETF or as it does. Well, we're going to ignore futures for now. Let's talk about the ETF. So let me give you an example. So everybody in the world thinks the S&P 500 is flying and you want to buy a put option, and you want to buy a put option because you think it's going to fall. Well, guess what? Because everybody's so excited about the market, put options are cheap. Maybe it costs you 10 cents an option, which will actually cost you $10. Okay. Now, if you're right and that put option were to go from 10 cents to $1, and let's just say, for argument's sake, you put the same $100 in, right? You bought the put option at 10 cents, and that same $100, you bought 10 contracts. That put option went all the way up to $1. So your $100 that you bought in is now worth 1,000. Each 10 cents is worth $10, right? But you own 10 contracts. So each 10 cents is worth $100. So you invested $100, you got $1,000 out of it. Now you believe the market is bottomed, it's going to take off. So now a put option is for when the S&P 500 were to fall in value and you want to make money in value without selling your ETF. Now, what if you got a little bit greedy, or you wanted to add a little bit more movement to that ETF you own over there? So you own the S&P 500 through the symbol SPY in the ETF. You want to make a little more money. What are you going to do? You're going to buy a call option. And guess what? The same circumstance applies as it did with the put option, except you're going the other way. So now everybody's afraid of World War III, doom and gloom. The S&P 500 has fallen 25%. your call options are now cheap. So you're going to hold on to your SPY over here. You made your gains in your put, and now you go in. Let's just hypothetically say you buy 10 contracts at 10 cents. That's $100. And the same thing happens again, and you're right. It goes up. That call option goes up to $1. Your $100 is now $1,000. A very inexpensive way to reduce risk at the top, not pay taxes, cover your position very inexpensively, and then be able to add a little juice for the move back up on the S&P 500. Because if there is one thing that we know, it is that 75% of the time the market is going up, not down. There will be one time in history where the market will go down and not come back up, and I hope I'm not here to see it. This is a basic explanation of what options are. Options are attached to a stock or an indices. They are inexpensive, and they can act inversely to your stock or your indices. Now, final component, and a very important component of options. And why, something to be aware of if you're going to use them, is that they expire. What is expiration date? Well, traditionally, expiration date was the third Friday of every month. Now you have options expiring on indices every other day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. However, let's just stick with an expiration date of the third Friday of each month. Why do we care that options expire? Because the closer you get to that date, the less opportunity your stock or index has to get to the price you've chosen. Let's go back to the SPY ETF on the S&P 500. So here we are, we're up at $1,000. Now we're betting that the S&P 500 over the next month is going to get to $800, okay? That's our bet. That's what we believe. The $800 is called your strike price. Okay, your strike price on an option is the price that you believe your security will get to. So we go in and we buy the S&P 500 put with a strike price of 800. Now, for whatever reason, the S&P just sits there. Here we are 2 weeks in. You bought this option for 10 cents, as we discussed, but for some reason, it's only worth 6 cents now. But the S&P 500 price hasn't moved. Why? Simple. You're getting closer to the expiration date of that option. Your expiration date is the date that that option will go to zero at the close of market. It's called time decay. Time can also cost you money in options. Remember something. We have the strike price. We have the expiration date. We have the cost of the option itself. With options, folks, you need to be right, and you need to be right now. The further out you go, obviously, the more time you have to reach your price. But with time decay, with the fact that time is moving on and you've given yourself more time, sometimes you can get to exactly where you thought you were going to get to, but you bought it too early. You left too much time in that option, and you never make any money. It is important to understand how options work and the flow of options and what the option market as a whole is doing. The stock market and the options market are directly related and they are correlated, but they function very differently. It is very important to understand how the option market works when it comes to expiration, when it comes to premium, when it comes to discount. Is there any big trading desk out there putting in big orders that will kind of act as a magnet for price, whether that's up or down? You need to know where those orders are. So for now, that is options. Look, I love questions. I want them all. Please ask me the questions down below. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to keep this going. Thank you for watching.